Hi guys, just checking if you can hear me okay? Because I think before you could not hear me. Okay. Mm. Okay, can you hear me now? I think I was muted before. Okay, excellent. All right, guys, I'm live today to give you some updates because I think we all are very anxious with what's happening with 190 and 491 mainly, and when the states are going to announce their criteria. I know that some states have already announced their criteria, and for example, Tasmania has given us like a glimpse of what the new program will look like. And yesterday, Migration Queensland has updated that they will be opening soon. They are just waiting for the nomination allocation from the Department of Home Affairs, which can happen any day, and they will be opening soon as well. So Western Australia has also updated their requirements for next financial year, which looks really positive, and we will talk about that as well in today's live session. ACT has also given us a good news that the critical skills occupation list will be the same for the whole year. You know how until now they always had like a critical skills occupation list changing every 3 months. So you could go there and your occupation could not be there after 3 months. But now they have said that it's an annual critical skills occupation list, and they will have it open the whole year. So same occupation for the whole year. So it's less risky to actually move to ACT. Victoria has also updated yesterday that they will be opening soon with the expanded occupation list. So we all know that last year Victoria was one of the toughest states to get nomination from, as they were only focusing on the target sectors. But this year looks like they will be opening for more occupations as well, and hopefully they will have a little bit more flexible criteria as well. Okay, so that's good if you guys can hear me well. Now, let's start with Migration Queensland first because I know many of you are waiting for Migration Queensland to open. So they updated yesterday, they will be opening soon. However, they are still awaiting nomination allocation from the Department of Home Affairs. And I think this is the case with all the states. You know, the states would have opened if they had received the nomination allocation. So looks like none of the states have got the nomination allocation, but this is for sure that all states would have already organized and the requirements for the nomination criteria. They would have already organized it, and they are just waiting for the nomination allocation so that they can go and update their websites with the new criteria. For example, looks like Tasmania has already got the nomination criteria set, but they haven't posted it on their website in detail, but they have given us some idea. So with Migration Queensland, what I believe that the criteria will almost be the same like last year. Of course, all states are going to get more seats, so I'm hoping that Migration Queensland will get double the seats, which is good. But it also means that it doesn't mean that it won't be as competitive as last time. Queensland has always been competitive because of the number of international students who come to study here, and then the number of international graduates that we have in Queensland. So because of the weather as well, a lot of people have moved to Queensland as well. And during COVID times as well, a lot of people from other cities like Melbourne and Sydney have moved to Queensland as well. So that has made the process in Queensland very, very competitive. So you guys have to be ready for Migration Queensland. If you want to compete in Queensland, you have to be ready with higher points and jobs in your fields and things like that. Now, because they updated the requirements last year, in which they made it easy for the international graduates, you know how they never used to accept part-time jobs, but if you are an international graduate in Queensland, they said even if you're working 20 hours a week and you have a job offer letter, which is 20 hours a week, we will give you the 491 nomination, but then they need GPA 6 and then they still need the proficient English. So I'm hoping they will continue it because they only started it last year. And of course, they want to make it more tempting for the students to still choose Queensland to study. Now, for the PhD graduates, they've always had they did not have like the job offer requirement for PhD graduates. So as long as you've done a PhD, in Queensland, they will offer you 190 or 491 depending on your points and things like that. They also have a small business owner stream, which is doing very well if I compare it to other states, because some other states like South Australia, Tasmania, Canberra, they also have a small business owner stream. But the business owner stream that we have in Queensland has been really successful, and a lot of people have moved to Queensland and have taken up that opportunity. And they have got invited at a minimum of 50 points of their own for the small business owner stream. So I believe that it will still be in their priority next year as well. They will promote this stream again because they want people to come and boost regional Queensland's economy. The good thing that happened later last financial year was that more regional postcodes were added in Queensland, which again makes uh, Queensland a more desirable state, because you can live, 25 minutes, 30 minutes to the Brisbane CBD and still be considered a regional area. So that has been really positive as well with Queensland. Now, for the skilled workers living in Queensland, so for many years they've had the same criteria: 6 months full-time work experience, and then the full-time job offer letter for 12 months. For 491, they have had 3 months work experience, 12 months job offer letter, and for 491, you could do two. You could mix two jobs, like you could do two part-time jobs to make it 35 hours as well. So that has been there. So we are not sure if it's still going to be the same. It could stay the same because the number of seats will be more this year, so they can accommodate more people, and they don't really have to make it like tougher than it has been already. So I believe that the criteria would be still the same with Migration Queensland when they open, and hopefully they will have more seats as well. If anything, they may become a little bit flexible, but I don't think they'll become more strict this time. And also, I think they will open for all occupations like that, like they did last year, because even last year it has been so competitive. A lot of people have been waiting for so long. They knew all this, but they still opened for all occupations, which is, I think, really great. Because you don't have to worry about if your occupation will be there or not. So I'm hoping, however, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm hoping it will be pretty much the same like last year, this financial year as well. So if you guys are looking to apply your expression of interest with Migration Queensland, and especially if you're trying to claim points for your employment, this is a very good time to go to your skills assessing body and get your employment points claimed, because you don't want to be in a situation where you know how Migration Queensland is a little bit slow. It could take about 6 months for you by the time you get the invitation. So, for example, you put the EOI today and you have got 6 months work experience, which is great, and you are eligible to lodge the EOI, because keep in mind the 6 months experience you need to meet when you actually lodge the EOI, not when you get the invitation. So that's another thing which I think confuses some of the applicants. So when they invite you, doesn't matter when they invite you, but when you lodged your EOI, you need to meet that 6 months work experience or 3 months work experience, depending if you're applying for 190 or 491. So it has happened to many of our clients that by the time you get the invitation, your EOI has claimed employment points. So they have got 5 additional points. And it is a known fact that any state, not just Migration Queensland, any state would love to invite applicants who are claiming points for their work experience, because for them, it really matters if you're working in your nominated occupation or not. And they would always give preference to applicants who are working in the nominated occupation. So if you are in a situation, even if you've got like 6 months work experience, 1 year, about to get 1 year work experience, or you've got 1 year plus work experience, now is the time that you would go to your skills assessing body and try to get that work experience assessed. Because if that work experience is assessed, you are very likely that you will, it's very likely that you will have no issues with the department as well to claim those points. However, department will do their own checks, but the fact that you got the employment assessed, department will consider that as well, and your chances of having any issues later on are very minimum. So you are working with a very low risk application if you are getting your employment points assessed. So make sure that you do that. If you guys are in Queensland, and I want you to take a note of the postcodes that we have in Queensland, the regional postcodes, and see if you can find jobs in regional areas other than the city. Even though your target is to apply for 190, apply for 190, because if you're in a regional area, if 190 doesn't work, you always have a backup plan to apply for 491. But yeah, it's just good to have like a job in a regional area, because you can't do vice versa. You can't be working and living in the city and applying for 491, whereas you could be living and working in a regional area and apply for 190. So many of you have got your companies, branches somewhere else as well, like in a regional area as well. So see if they can transfer you there. And another thing is, it's not that your office address has to be regional, your accommodation has to be regional as well to meet their requirements for 491. So if you are getting an opportunity in a regional area, so just make sure that you move there as well, because for 491, we need the accommodation proof that you have been living in a regional area for 3 months. And for 190, you could be living anywhere for 6 months. So that's something I want you to take note of. Okay, I can see that I'm getting a lot of questions, but I was actually planning to give you update for all the states before I start taking questions. Also, what I'm going to do is, because I know you guys have been waiting for so long, even we are waiting, like we have some clients who are waiting from last year for the nomination. So what I'm going to do is, if I'm not able to reply to your questions in this live session, I will go back tonight and reply to each one of you. So try to put as much information as you can in one comment only. Don't repeat your comments, because that will just create more work for me. So just one comment and ask your full question. So you may want to put your occupation, your state, your points, and if you're working in your nominated occupation or not, and then start your question after that. So I think that will really help me to quickly reply to all your questions. So I can see that there are already, I don't know, there are a lot of questions there. So yes, so just make sure that you put the full question there. So the next state I want to talk about, I will probably go through it quickly, because for example, with Western Australia, the next one I'm going to talk about, I have already made a video about the new nomination requirements. So I want you to maybe go to our YouTube channel and look at that and watch that video, because I've explained you the criteria. But Western Australia is looking great for next financial year, especially if you're somebody who has studied there or who is planning to study there. So Western Australia is great. If you have planned to study there, if you've just come to Western Australia, don't do anything, just keep studying there. But just make sure that the studies that you're doing in Western Australia does give you a skills assessment. So if you're doing a course which will have issues getting a skills assessment, maybe get in touch with me or any of our migration agents. We do offer free advice as well for admission process, where we help you with the, how it will work out in the future as well. So we just don't leave you at just the admission and the enrollment process. We actually tell you the steps, what you're going to do. And that's why you need to talk to a registered migration agent if you're planning to change your study, rather than talking to a like education agent or somebody who is not going to tell you about the skills assessment. So make sure you take benefit of that opportunity, because we've got free consultations available for a limited time only. Also for skilled migration, again, just to help you guys out, we are offering $55 consultations for 15 minutes. So I want you to take that opportunity as well. Even if you're doing your own application or whatever it is, like you just want some advice, I want you to take the benefit of that. So don't make any major blunders because you just wanted to do the application yourself. So recently we have seen a lot of refusals where in the DIY applications, just not trying to scare you, but just want to make you aware that just be 100% sure when you're claiming your points and things like that. So we also have the employer sponsored visa consultation. So if you go to our website, we offer that for 110. We also offer DAMA. So if your occupation is not on the main list and your occupation is in one of the DAMAs, how we've got 12 DAMAs, and you have an employer who's ready to sponsor you, we can help you with the full application for DAMA as well. And of course, for 186, 482, 494 visa, and those consultations are 30 minutes with our experts who only specialize in employer sponsored visas. So do take that opportunity, take the advice. It's 30 minutes consultation. You can book from our website, or you could call the office and book with us. So just going back to Western Australia, Western Australia has got 300 occupations now, especially for their graduates. So which means they are looking great for somebody who wants to study there or has studied there. Plus they have got Schedule 1 requirements, like they've got three nomination criteria. Schedule, they call it Schedule 1, Schedule 2, and the graduate stream. So graduate stream, you need 6 months work experience anywhere in Australia, and or you need a 6 months job offer letter in your nominated occupation. So that's pretty straightforward, and many students that don't have difficulty either getting the work experience or the 6 months job offer letter. For Schedule 1, you need 1 year work experience with a 1 year job offer letter from an employer in Western Australia. And for Schedule 2, you need a job offer letter. But they are going to set some kind of priority this year. So what it means is it won't be just points based. So they will also see if you are in Western Australia. So if you're in Western Australia, of course, you will be given the first priority. And of course, if you're the graduate, of course, you will be given the first priority. And then if you are already working in Western Australia, so that will be the second priority. And then people who are living in other states in Australia, and then people who are living overseas. So that's how their priority will be. And after that, they will look at the points. So, and also keep in mind with Western Australia, if you are planning to get a 190 from them, and if you tick a 491 as well, you're more likely to get the invitation for 491 because they have got like a ranking system. So your EY will never actually get picked up for 190. So if you're planning to get 190, only ask for a 190. And if that obviously doesn't work out, then you can go for the 491 after a couple of months. So that's for Western Australia. ACT, like I said, is also looking great. They have got the critical skills occupation list where they are going to not change the occupation list at all in the whole year. They are also open for overseas applicants. Now, the good thing with ACT is that you do not need to be working in your nominated occupation. They've got similar criteria like Queensland, 3 months work experience, which is 13 weeks at 20 hours, so which is good, and or 26 weeks, 35 hours a week for a 190 does not have to be in your nominated occupation. They also have a small business owner stream, which is great for someone who doesn't have a lot of money to invest initially. However, you know how in Queensland you need to have 100,000 minimum plus other costs like your lease, your lawyer, and all that is on top of it. So you need a lot of money to get the small business owner in Queensland, whereas in Canberra, you could just invest in a business which could be like $10,000, but then the turnover requirement is 100,000 for 6 months, so 200,000 annually, which is still not too bad because most businesses have 100,000 turnover, especially if you're buying an existing business and you would do the due diligence and things like that. You could even have a partner if you are a 51% owner, but you do need to hire someone like local Australian citizen or permanent resident, 20 hours a week, and have to pay yourself the minimum salary, which is 53,900. So those are the things which are good. Other good thing with the small business owner stream in Canberra is that you could even go for a 190 if you have high points. You know how in Queensland, the small business owner stream is only available for 491. This is not the case in ACT. So you may want to consider ACT as well, but then, you know, it's not one size fit all. So you have to make sure which state is better. So you would obviously go to that state. With ACT, you have to have high metrics points. So keep that in mind. So unless you don't have high metrics points, there's no point moving to ACT as well. Victoria has updated that they will open with an expanded occupation list, and they are also waiting for the allocation. So at least these states have started updating. So I'm hoping that maximum 2 weeks, or it could be like even 1 week, 1 to 2 weeks, or by early August, we will have all states opening. So don't leave it until too late. I would say probably start planning ahead and start putting documents together. You know, with Migration Queensland, we have seen that sometimes they open and they get like so many applications and they have closed in 4 hours as well. Last year, it wasn't like that because they had a different process where they were, you know, checking each EOI and things like that. But, you know, if they happen to do that, like, you know, their website crashes or they get too many EOIs and they close quickly. So you may want to, you know, already start planning, or if you're planning to use a registered migration agent, you already may want to start sending them documents so that they can start drafting your EOIs. So that's with the states. Tasmania actually has also updated their requirements. With Tasmania, they have not given us the full requirements, but based on what they have told us, it's looking really great in Tasmania as well. And if they do happen to get like double the allocation, it's really great because they've got a lot of pending applications. So I know some of you have been waiting for an year after applying with them. So it could really benefit those people who are already there. So for the graduates, there will be no course or occupation restriction, which means that you could study any course as long as you've got a skills assessment, they will nominate you. And they will not have any mandatory employment requirements. You know how you have to give like a career plan and things like that. So they may take that off as well. And for PhD graduates, they will have permanent pathway options like we have it with other states, that as long as you have done a PhD there, they'll give you a 190. And for skilled employees, they said they will have expanded list of occupations. So you know how like for 190 we had like a TSOL, which is Tasmania Skilled Occupation List. So they said they'll have more occupations, and there will be no occupation requirement for 491. I think what it means is that you can choose any occupation from the MLTSSL, STSOL, or ROL list. And also they will accept part-time employment. You know, before they were very strict, it has to be full-time, minimum 35 hours. They are not going to be strict about that. And they will also accept applications from subcontractors who've got a related skills assessment. A little bit sad for the business operators, but not too bad. That you know how before you could be running a business for 6 months and be eligible for the 491. Now they want you to run the business for 12 months. But then they have other benefits as well. So for example, for long-term residents, so if you have, this is similar to South Australia. So I have explained to you about South Australia's nomination requirements in the past, how they have a long-term resident, which is doing great in South Australia. And if you have been in South Australia for a very long time, they give you the nomination. You know, it doesn't matter if you're working in your occupation or not. I think it will be similar to that. And they need 3 years residence in Tasmania for a 190 and a 2 years residence for a 491. So we don't know if you need to be working in your nominated occupation or not. Hopefully not, if it's similar to South Australia. So that's good as well. The other benefit for the business operators is that if you have been running a business for 2 years, they'll offer you a 190. And they will also open for overseas applicants where there will be no occupation restrictions if the candidate has a job offer letter. So, and also if you are someone who's got skills in the occupation which are needed by Tasmanian business, hopefully they will have like an indication what kind of occupations are in demand in Tasmania, then you could apply with Tasmania as well. So basically, all in all, they will have a simplified eligibility requirements, and it will be more clear. Whereas, you know, last year it was like very competitive, and even if you met the minimum eligibility requirements, it's not guaranteed that you would get the nomination. And that was, I think, one of the reasons that I was not sending my clients to Tasmania, because it's not like black and white. It depends, you know, who you're competing with, and you don't know who you're competing with. So not everybody gets the invite unless you are a graduate in Tasmania. So hopefully that will be simplified as well. So we don't have any news from South Australia or Northern Territory or New South Wales as well. We have no news from these states at the moment, but hopefully they will be announcing something maybe this week, today or tomorrow. So let's see what happens. What are the chances for offshore? So offshore is looking great. So most states, and I think Migration Queensland will also open for offshore, because all other states are opening for offshore. So they better also open for offshore. And for offshore, the requirements have been very easy from Queensland before 2 years work experience. So, but they may have like, you know, higher work experience requirement for that one. Okay, qualified bricklayer with 80 points, 1 year work experience. Which state should I go for? Already submitted. Yeah, Western Australia is good. And then also have a look what happens in your own state. So looks like you're not in Western Australia. So see what happens in your own state. So Western Australia is good, but you know how they're going to prioritize applicants who are in their state first. So it depends. But then, you know, your occupation is not very competitive. You still have a good chance of getting invited, even though you don't move to Western Australia. What about 491 GSM visa grants? Any news offshore? Okay, so yesterday there was an announcement that they will be prioritizing applicants who are offshore. So that will happen soon. So I think it should not be too far away, because the applicants who are here, they're already working, they already have bridging visa A's. But now, because we've got a skill shortage, they want the offshore applicants to come here and start working quickly. So the direction is changing. So the case officers have received a new direction that start prioritizing the applicants, especially the skilled visa applicants who are offshore. I am SBO 491 startup. So if you're a startup, then you have to wait 2 years for that one, and you need that turnover 200,000 per year in the last year. So depends how long you have been doing this for. You also need full work rights. So make sure that you check the requirements and your eligibility with me or one of our migration agents who does the small business owner stream before you make any plans. Okay, this one I have already. Harrison, 2 years operation, that's great. So as long as you have full work rights, skills assessment, minimum 50 points, 200,000 turnover in the last year, you're good to go. 90 points analyst programmer offshore for 491. Analyst programmer, highly competitive, but it will depend on your work experience and what the state requirements will be. Have a look at ACT. If your occupation is in there, they need 3 years work experience, and then you have to do some research that your skills are really required in ACT. Have a look at that one. You may also want to have a look at Western Australia. You may also want to have a look at South Australia and New South Wales regional when they reopen. So when the states open, maybe get in touch with us. You might be able to apply it with few states. As per your highly experienced band 2 9+ experience in Reliance Industries Limited. Yes, but what is your occupation? You haven't mentioned your occupation. Okay, guys, please don't repeat the questions. Okay, South Australia offshore ICT trainer, 5 years experience granted, 80 points including state points, EY lodged, low points. So let's see what happens next year. Okay, that now they are focused on, yes, so we just mentioned that. Please tell us about the new changes that have been applied in Tasmania. So we have discussed this recently, so you may want to just go back a little bit if you were not live then, and you can see getting the nomination. Can we sell the business or no? No, not recommended. You got the nomination because you said you will continue running the business, so the answer is no. Unless you are planning to buy another business, then it should be fine, but I would still run it through Migration Queensland. So get in touch with us if you need help with that one. Business analyst, regional New South Wales, competitive English, 95 points. Pretty good chances. Enroll nurse, South Australia, yeah, good chances. Another state, 190 after receiving an invitation for 491. You can, depends on the policy. Would they invite somebody who's already got invited for 491? So you may want to check that state's policy. New South Wales is going to be for software engineer. There was almost 0 invitations for IT last year. No, that's not true. There were quite a few invitations as well, but sometimes you don't see it on social media. And you know how New South Wales, they do not put the occupations, the invitations, the point score, or anything like that online. So it's very hard to tell. Offshore candidate, audiologist, 8 years, yeah, 75. A very good occupation. Keep an eye. You should have opportunities. Sitting at home, no, can't do it online. Can you share some information about offshore? Really hoping that should come soon, especially after yesterday's, I think it was day before yesterday's announcement. So we should start seeing grants for the offshore. Move to Perth from Sydney, 80 points, system analyst and ICT security specialist. Yeah, but do you have a job? If you have a job, then you have good chances. Offshore candidate, yeah, so just keep an eye out, regional New South Wales, South Australia, and again, have a look at ACT because they're already open. Western Australia is already open, so have a look at that one. Tasmania also said that they will open for offshore. So I think with offshore applicants, you have a good chance now. So just make sure that you get everything ready, especially like I said, with your employment points, make sure that you get your employment assessed from your skills assessing body. Yeah, that's good. I already answered that one. EOI web developer, 190, 95 points. Onshore, you have good points. If you're planning to move, okay, anybody who's planning to move right now, because we're just nearly there, can you just wait 2 weeks before you book your tickets and pack your bags? Because in 2 weeks, you'll know exactly where you need to move. And if you need help with that, choosing the state, get in touch with us. Okay. No update yet, but hopefully soon. Welfare workers, 75 points, 1 year work experience. Chances, I would wait. I want to say good chances, but let's see. Working in prioritizing visa applications, 190 offshore, very soon, hopefully. JB, I know it's very frustrating, but hopefully very soon. I've applied 491 visa, March 2022. It's very recent, so maybe wait few more months. But recently, what I noticed with some of our 491 grants, they were just like coming in 3-4 months. So yeah, but you have not, okay, 121313. I'm not sure what occupation is that, but hopefully not too far. Good time to apply for tourist visa. Yes, definitely. Yes, Cricket World Cup, and yeah, you need to watch that. Any hope for accountants with 491 critical sector? You haven't mentioned which state. You may want to look at South Australia outside Adelaide for this kind of profile. Waiting Queensland invitation, 85 points, HKRN. Yes, a lot of applicants have been waiting. Get in touch with us. Let's see if we can help you out this year. Okay, skills assessment in New South Wales. Chef, I want to move to Tasmania. Just wait. Just wait a couple of weeks. Let's see what the criteria will be. I think there are better states than Tasmania. You know how Tasmania takes too long for processing and all, so we can look at other states for you. Okay, since 2 years in regional, but offices in regional since last 6 months. No, you need to be operating from last 2 years in a regional area. Update on South Australia graduate long-term resident. Is it from the moment you graduate or from the moment you moved into South Australia? So if you have studied in South Australia, so it includes that time, but it has to be continuous period. So if you left South Australia, went back there, then no. So the clock will start again. If that's what you're asking me, I'm not too sure about your question there. Management consultant, yes. Not many people have that skills assessment, so that's pretty good. Regional area, previously that area code was not regional when I started my studies. I've already completed half duration and 1 year is remaining. Yes, so as long as when you complete your studies, it's a regional campus, you can claim 5 points. But keep in mind, yeah, so another thing I actually want to clarify, let's say you are here to do a bachelor's degree, which is for 3 years, and you did 1 year in the city and 2 years in regional area. Because I checked this with the department, the whole 3 years has to be in the regional area. So you can't just move after 1 year. So I have to do the whole study. I have to live in a regional area and study in a regional area. Work doesn't matter. Any new expectation criteria for Queensland? So we discussed that at the start of this live session. So you may want to listen to that. But there will be some changes, but I think there will be like very minor changes. Okay. Okay, thank you for answering. When you say wait for 2 weeks, what is that wait for? Is there any news or update? Yes, the states have not announced their criteria yet. So we have to wait until states announce their criteria before you decide which state to move. Emerald, 2 assessments, working for childcare. Okay, no. No, you have to be working in your field if you want any kind of nomination from Migration Queensland, unless you're running a small business. Then you don't need to be working in your occupation. Okay, applied. May I know the processing time? Yeah, not until they'll get the nomination allocation. So even we have some clients who got the invitation, we applied the nomination, they have not received the full invitation because the quota finished. So hopefully by next month you should hear from them. 6-month study also considered as onshore with priority compared to offshore with 90 points, which, okay, I'm not sure what you are asking. Maybe just explain in detail. Mechanical engineer 491, 95 points, including state points, and currently living in regional New South Wales. So yeah, so don't need to change anything until we find out, but hopefully you should be okay. So guys, if you have any more questions, just put it in the comments, because many of you are not live now, but you may go back and watch, listen to this video. So if you have a question, like I said, put your occupation, points, the state you are in, and then what I'll do is tonight I'll try and reply to as many as I can. All the best to everyone, and like I said, please make sure that you get your documents organized, and if you're trying to claim employment, get your employment assessed for sure. If you're planning to get 5 points for NATI is fully booked, I think, for next 3 months or something. So book already if you're planning to increase your points through English. So start doing all that, but it doesn't stop you from lodging the EYs anyway. And when you do have like NATI, when you do have updated English score, and if you're still waiting, you can go and update your EYs. With Migration Queensland, you'll have to lodge a new one. So like I said, we do offer, for skilled migration, we do offer $55 consultations for 15 minutes with our expert registered migration agent. So you may want to take that opportunity. We also offer free consultations for 485 visa, change of course, professional year program, or any admission related or student visa consultations. So you may want to book that as well. You can also book with me if you want to talk about all states and all options. And we also offer the employer sponsored visa consultations. We also offer the DAMA consultations, because if you're looking at DAMA options, you may want to get in touch with us as well. So all the best to everyone, and as soon as we have any more updates, we will come live again to update you. But like I said, in the meantime, just prepare everything and see you soon. Bye bye.